I was elbow-deep in the carburetor of my mother's 1987 Buick LeSabre when I heard my wife laugh, really laugh, for the first time in months. The sound drifted through the open garage door like poison gas, sweet and lethal. "God, Claire, you're terrible," came Sabrina's voice, sharp with delight. "Does he have any idea? About Eric?" My wife's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper, but sound carries in New England autumn air. "Please. He's so busy playing mechanic with that disgusting car, he wouldn't notice if I brought Eric home for dinner." I froze, wrench in hand, oil dripping onto the concrete floor of the garage I'd inherited 3 weeks ago, along with everything else. The house, the money, the life insurance policy that had made my bank account swell like a tick. "When do you think the trust clears?" Sabrina again, always pushing, always digging. "Ms. Lowell said another week. Then it's joint property, and I can finally breathe." Claire's heels clicked on the porch boards. 40 years of marriage should count for something, right? 42, actually, but who's counting? And Eric's okay with waiting? Eric's fine, better than fine. A pause, heavy, with implication. That man has stamina I forgot existed. They dissolved into giggles, the kind of sound teenage girls make at sleepovers, not two women pushing 50. I stayed frozen under the hood, my knuckles white around the wrench, my heart doing something between a sprint and a crawl. Eric. My brother Eric. Of course it was Eric. I'd grown up in Millbrook Falls, this picture-perfect New England town where old money whispered and new money shouted. I was neither. Dad fixed cars, Mom cleaned houses for the country club set. We lived in the part of town where the roads weren't quite as smooth, where the streetlights took longer to get fixed. Claire Hutchinson had been the girl who smiled at me in high school. Really smiled. Not that polite grimace the rich kids gave the scholarship students. She'd gone to community college while I'd enlisted, come back while I was overseas, waited tables at her father's restaurant. When I came home, she'd been there, still smiling. We got married in the little church on Maple Street. Her father hadn't come. Her mother had cried, and not the happy kind of tears. I'd spent 42 years trying to be good enough, working my way from mechanic to shop manager to owner of Millbrook Auto Repair, buying this house in the good part of town, not the best part, never quite that, but respectable, raising our daughter Cassie, putting her through college, and now Mom was dead, and suddenly I was worth something. Suddenly Claire laughed like that. I set down the wrench carefully, wiped my hands on a rag, and walked to the garage entrance. The porch light cast my wife and her best friend in sharp relief. Claire had her phone out, scrolling, smiling at something on the screen. "Hey," I called out. They jumped like I'd fired a gun. "Jesus, Tom!" Claire pressed a hand to her chest. "You scared me." "Sorry. I wasn't. Just wanted to let you know I'm heading to Marty's for a bit. Need some parts." "At 9 o'clock at night?" Sabrina's eyebrows arched. She was a sharp-faced woman, all angles and edges, married to some hedge fund guy who worked in Boston. "Marty keeps late hours?" "For me, yeah." I met her eyes, watched her look away first. "We go back." "Don't be too late," Claire said, already looking back at her phone. "We have that appointment with Ms. Lowell tomorrow about the estate." "Wouldn't miss it." I grabbed my keys from the hook inside the garage door, climbed into my truck, a 2015 Ford F-150, paid off, reliable, and drove. Not to Marty's. Not yet. I drove to the Riverside Hotel, the only decent place to stay in Millbrook Falls if you weren't local. The kind of place where the parking lot faced away from the main road, where the rooms had curtains thick enough to keep secrets. Eric's Mustang, cherry red because my brother had never met a cliché he didn't embrace, sat in the back corner, next to a sleek silver Audi I recognized. Claire's car. the one she'd insisted on leasing last year, over my objections about the monthly payment. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes, engine off, watching the window on the second floor where light glowed behind those thick curtains. My phone buzzed. A text from Cassie, my daughter. "Mom says you're being weird. Are you okay?" I typed back, "Fine, just working on Grandma's car." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again, then, whatever, drama llama. 22 years old, and she talked like she was still in middle school. But that was Cassie, always half in the real world, half in whatever digital universe she inhabited. 300,000 followers on TikTok, apparently. I didn't understand it, didn't try to. I got out of the truck, walked to Eric's Mustang, and knelt by the rear driver's side tire. The valve stem cap came off easily. I pressed the valve, heard the satisfying hiss of escaping air. Did the same to the other 3 tires. Not flat, just low enough to be annoying, dangerous if you drove too fast. From my pocket, I pulled out a scrap of paper and a pen. Wrote, "Hope you enjoyed the ride. Karma." I tucked it under the wiper blade, walked back to my truck, and drove away. Behind me, a security camera on the hotel's corner blinked its red eye, recording everything. The next morning, Claire was already dressed when I woke up. Navy suit, heels, hair perfect. She smelled like expensive perfume, the kind that came in bottles smaller than my fist and cost more than my first car. "You ready?" she asked, not looking at me. "For what?" "Ms. Lowell, the estate." "Tom, seriously, do you remember anything I tell you?" I remembered everything. Every word, every slight, every time she'd looked at me like I was something she'd stepped in. "Right. I said. "Give me 10 minutes. I showered, dressed in my good khakis and a button-down shirt. Claire waited by the door, tapping her phone, probably texting Eric, or Sabrina, or whoever else was in on this joke. Ms. Lowell's office sat above the bank on Main Street, all dark wood and leather chairs. She was a woman in her 60s, silver hair, sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She'd handled my mother's affairs for 30 years. "Tom, Claire." She nodded to us both. "Please sit." We sat. Claire crossed her legs, leaned forward with interest. I slouched, playing the part I'd perfected over 4 decades. The guy who didn't quite belong, who didn't quite understand. "The estate is straightforward," Ms. Lowell said, opening a folder. "Margaret left everything to Tom, the house, the life insurance, the investments." "Investments?" Claire's voice sharpened. "What investments?" Margaret was quite savvy. Ms. Lowell's smile was thin. "She invested wisely over the years. The portfolio is worth approximately $2.3 million. The number hung in the air like smoke. $2 million? Claire's voice climbed an octave. "Your mother had $2 million? Apparently." I kept my voice flat, bored even. "Who knew?" "The funds are in a trust," Ms. Lowell continued. "Per Margaret's instructions, Tom has full control. The trust cannot be divided in the event of divorce, cannot be claimed by creditors, cannot be touched by anyone except Tom." I watched Claire's face go through several interesting colors. "That's not—" She stopped, recalibrated. "I mean, we're married. Community property." "Massachusetts is not a community property state," Ms. Lowell said. "And regardless, a trust is separate from marital assets. Margaret was very specific about this." "She never liked me," Claire said, and for the first time in years, I heard something real in her voice. She always thought I wasn't good enough for Tom. The irony was so thick I could have spread it on toast. "The trust is structured to provide Tom with income," Ms. Lowell continued. "Approximately $10,000 per month, with access to principal for specific purposes, home repairs, medical expenses, that sort of thing. It's designed to last the rest of your life, Tom." $10,000 a month. $120,000 a year. More than I'd ever made at the shop, even in the best years. Well, I said, that's something. Claire said nothing. Her jaw was tight, her hands clenched in her lap. We left the office in silence. On the sidewalk, she finally spoke. You're not going to keep all that to yourself, are you? What do you mean? Tom. She turned to face me, and I saw something desperate in her eyes. We're married. That money, it should be ours. Both of ours. Mom left it to me. Your mother was a bitter old woman who cleaned toilets for a living. The words came out fast, sharp. She died in that tiny apartment, alone, because she was too proud to ask for help. And now you're going to what? Hoard her money like some kind of dragon? I looked at my wife, really looked at her, saw the lines around her mouth, the calculation in her eyes, the way she stood like she was bracing for a fight. And I'm gonna to Marty's, I said. Of course you are. She laughed, bitter. Run away. That's what you do, isn't it? Run away and hide in that disgusting gym with your loser friend. I walked to my truck. Behind me, I heard her heels clicking fast on the sidewalk, heard her car door slam, heard the Audi's engine roar to life. My phone buzzed. A text from Eric. Bro, we need to talk. I deleted it. Marty's gym sat on the edge of town in a brick building that had been a textile mill 100 years ago. The sign out front said Millbrook Boxing Club, but everyone just called it Marty's. Inside, it smelled like sweat and leather and decades of pain. Marty himself was behind the counter, a mountain of a man gone soft around the middle, but still dangerous in the eyes. We'd served together, back when we were young and stupid enough to think we were invincible. Tom. He looked up from his phone. Twice in 2 days? What's the occasion? Can a guy visit his friend? A guy can. You don't. He came around the counter, studied my face. What happened? I told him. Not everything. Not about the hotel, not about the tires, but about the money. About Claire's reaction. About the way she'd looked at me like I was an obstacle instead of a husband. She's cheating on you, Marty said when I finished. I know. With who? I hesitated. Eric. Marty's face did something complicated. Your brother Eric? The one who borrowed $5,000 from you last year and never paid it back? That Eric? That's the one. Jesus, Tom. Marty shook his head. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. You want to hit something? Yeah, I do. He led me to the heavy bag in the corner, helped me wrap my hands, showed me where to stand. I hadn't boxed in 20 years, but the muscle memory came back. Jab, cross, hook. Again. Until my shoulders burned and my knuckles ached and my head felt clearer than it had in months. When I finally stopped, Marty handed me a water bottle. Feel better? A little. Good. Now let's talk about what you're really going to do. I told you I don't bullshit. Marty sat on the edge of the ring. You've got that look. The same look you had in Kandahar when those contractors tried to screw us on the supply run. You're planning something. I drank the water, said nothing. Just don't do anything stupid, Marty said. She's not worth it. But that was the thing. It wasn't about Claire anymore. It was about Eric, about Sabrina, about everyone who'd ever looked at me like I was less than. About 42 years of being the guy who didn't quite fit, who didn't quite measure up. About finally having the power to push back. The divorce papers arrived 3 days later, delivered by a process server who looked embarrassed to be there. Claire had moved fast, hired some lawyer from Boston, filed for dissolution of marriage, demanded half of everything, including the trust. She can't have the trust, Ms. Lowell told me over the phone, but she can make your life very difficult trying. Let her try. That night, I went to O'Brien's, the bar on the south side of town where Eric liked to hold court. Sure enough, there he was, sitting at the bar with a whiskey in front of him, laughing with the bartender. Eric looked like me, if I'd been better looking and worse at making decisions. Same height, same build, but he'd kept his hair, while mine had thinned, and he'd developed the kind of charm that came from never having to work for anything. "Tommy," he saw me, grinned, raised his glass. "Come have a drink with your big brother. We need to talk." So, talk. He gestured to the stool next to him. "I'm right here." I sat. The bartender, a kid I didn't recognize, asked what I wanted. I said nothing. "Suit yourself." Eric took a sip of whiskey. "I heard about the divorce. Sorry, man. That's rough." "Is it?" "Marriage is hard. Sometimes people grow apart. Sometimes people sleep with their husband's brother." The bar went quiet. The bartender found something very interesting to do at the other end of the counter. Eric's smile didn't waver. "She told you. I figured it out. And now you're what? Here to fight me?" He laughed. "Come on, Tommy. We're not kids anymore." "No, we're not." I stood. "Which is why you should know better." "Know better than what? Than to be with someone who actually wants me?" Eric's voice rose. "You think she was happy with you? You think she didn't spend the last 20 years wishing she'd married someone else?" "Someone like you?" "Someone like anyone." He stood too, and we were face to face, close enough that I could smell the whiskey on his breath. "You're a mechanic, Tommy. A guy who fixes cars. She's a corporate director. She runs a department. She makes more money than you ever did. And you expected her to what? Be grateful, be satisfied." I hit him. Not hard, just a jab to the solar plexus, the kind that takes your breath and your dignity. Eric folded, gasped, grabbed the bar for support. "Stay away from my wife," I said. "She's not your wife anymore." Eric wheezed. "She's filing for divorce. She's going to be free, and we're going to be together, and there's nothing you can do about it." I left him there, bent over the bar, trying to breathe. Behind me, I heard the bartender ask if he was okay, heard Eric say something about calling the cops. Let him call. I'd been defending myself. Witnesses would back that up. Probably. The next morning, I woke to my phone ringing. Cassie's name on the screen. "Dad, what the hell?" "Good morning to you too. Did you really punch Uncle Eric?" "Who told you that?" "It's all over town. Sabrina posted about it on Facebook. She said you assaulted him in a bar." "I didn't assault anyone." "Dad," Cassie's voice went hard. "Mom says you're losing it. She says the money from Grandma is making you crazy." "Your mom's the one who filed for divorce. Because you're being impossible. Because you won't share what's rightfully both of yours." I sat up, rubbed my eyes. "Cassie, there's stuff you don't understand." "I understand that you're being selfish. I understand that Mom's been unhappy for years, and now she finally has a chance to be free, and you're trying to ruin it." "She's sleeping with Eric." Silence. Then, "That's a lie." "It's not. You're just saying that to make her look bad. You're just—" Her voice cracked. "I can't believe you'd stoop that low." "Cassie." She hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, staring at the wall. The house was quiet. Claire had moved out 2 days ago, taken half the furniture, left empty spaces where things used to be. The bedroom looked like a mouth with missing teeth. My phone buzzed, a text from a number I didn't recognize. "You shouldn't have done that." Sabrina." I called Marty. "I need your help," I said. "What kind of help?" "The kind that might get us both in trouble." A pause, then, "Come to the gym. We'll talk." Marty listened while I laid it out. The affair, the divorce, the trust, Eric at the bar, Cassie's phone call, Sabrina's text. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and laced his fingers behind his head. "You're in deep," he said. "I know. And you want to what? Fight back? I want them to hurt the way I'm hurting." "Tom." Marty leaned forward. "That's a dark road. I've been on dark roads before. Not like this. This is your family. They stopped being my family when they decided I was an ATM." Marty studied me for a long moment. Then he nodded, slow. "Okay, what do you need?" "Information. Claire works at Dennison Corp., right? In HR?" "Yeah, why?" "HR people have access to everything. Personnel files. Complaints. Dirt." "You think she's dirty?" "I think everyone's dirty if you look hard enough." Marty grinned. "Now you're talking. I know a guy who works IT there. Let me make some calls." While Marty worked his contacts, I drove to the country club. It was Saturday, which meant the charity luncheon, one of those events where rich people ate expensive food and congratulated themselves for caring about the poor. Claire would be there. She loved these things, loved being seen, loved networking with the kind of people who'd ignored her when she was waiting tables. I paid the entrance fee, got a wristband, walked into the ballroom. It was exactly what you'd expect. White tablecloths, flower arrangements, a banner that said "Fighting Childhood Hunger" in cursive script. I spotted Claire at a table near the high front, laughing with Sabrina and a couple I didn't recognize. She wore a red dress, her hair up, her makeup perfect. She looked happy. Eric stood by the bar talking to someone's trophy wife, his hand on her arm, his smile wide. I walked up behind him. "Eric." He turned, saw me, and his smile faltered. "Tommy, didn't expect to see you here." "It's a charity event. I'm charitable." "Right." He glanced around, probably looking for security. "Look, about the other night." "Forget it," I smiled. "I overreacted. Stress, you know? The divorce and everything." Yeah, okay." He relaxed slightly. "No hard feelings?" "None at all." I moved away, circled the room, positioned myself near the pool. It was an indoor pool, Olympic-sized, part of the club's renovation 5 years ago. The water was that perfect turquoise blue, chlorine sharp in the air. I waited. Eventually, Eric made his way toward the bathroom, walking past the pool. I stepped into his path, stumbled, grabbed his arm for balance. We both went into the water. It was cold. They kept it at 72 degrees, and the shock of it drove the air from my lungs. I surfaced, gasping, to see Eric flailing next to me, his expensive suit soaked, his hair plastered to his skull. People rushed over. Someone threw us towels. A club employee helped us out, apologizing profusely. "I'm so sorry," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I tripped. Are you okay, Eric?" He stared at me, water dripping from his nose, and I saw understanding dawn in his eyes. This wasn't an accident. This was a message. "I'm fine," he said through clenched teeth. Sabrina appeared, with her phone out filming. "Oh my God, this is perfect. Tom, you're such a klutz." "I know." I smiled at the camera. "Always have been." She posted it before we'd even dried off. By the time I got home, it had 3,000 views and 200 comments, most of them laughing at me, calling me clumsy, saying things like, "Guess money can't buy coordination." I didn't care. I'd seen Eric's face. I'd seen the fear. That was worth 1,000 comments. Marty called that night. "Got something," he said. "Your wife's been having an affair with her boss, guy named Richard Dennison, the owner's son." "How long?" "At least 2 years. My guy found emails, hotel receipts charged, to the company card, the works." 2 years. While I'd been working 60-hour weeks, keeping the shop running, paying for Cassie's college. There's more, Marty said. She's been funneling company money into a personal account. Small amounts, hard to trace, but it adds up. About 50 grand over the last year. That's embezzlement. That's a felony. I sat down, my legs suddenly weak. Can you prove it? My guy can. He's got screenshots, transaction records, everything. But Tom, if you use this, it'll destroy her. She'll go to jail. She's trying to take everything I have. I know, I'm just saying, make sure you want to do this before you pull the trigger. I thought about Claire in her red dress, laughing with Sabrina. Thought about Eric at the bar, telling me I wasn't good enough. Thought about Cassie calling me selfish, believing their lies. Send me everything I said. The envelope arrived 2 days later, a thick manila folder full of printouts, spreadsheets, email chains. I read through it all, twice, making sure I understood. Claire had been stealing from Dennison Corp. For over a year. Small amounts at first, then larger. She'd set up a shell company, been invoicing for services never rendered, pocketing the difference, and Richard Dennison, her boss, had been helping her. Probably getting a cut. Probably sleeping with her in exchange for access to company funds. It was elegant in a way. Almost impressive. Almost. I made copies, stored the originals in a safe deposit box, and waited for the right moment. It came faster than I expected. 3 days later, I got a text from Sabrina. Country Club, 7 p.m., family meeting, be there. A family meeting, how civilized. I arrived early, found them already gathered in one of the private rooms. Claire, Eric, Sabrina, and to my surprise, Cassie. They sat around a table, looking serious, like this was a board meeting instead of an ambush. Tom, Claire stood. Thanks for coming. Wouldn't miss it. We wanted to talk to you, Sabrina said. About the situation. What situation? Don't play dumb. Eric leaned back in his chair. The money, the trust, the way you're acting. How am I acting? Like a child, Cassie said. Dad, seriously. This is embarrassing. I sat down, folded my hands on the table. I'm listening. Claire took a breath. We think you should share the trust. Split it evenly between us. Us? Me, Eric, and Cassie, your family. You filed for divorce. That doesn't mean we stop being family. Tom, that money, your mother would have wanted us all to benefit. My mother hated you. The words landed like a slap. Claire's face went red. That's not fair, she said. It's true. She told me, right before she died, said you married me for security, not love, said you'd leave me the second you found something better. I looked at Eric. Guess she was right. Tom. Sabrina's voice was sharp. We're trying to be reasonable here. No, you're trying to steal from me. There's a difference. It's not stealing if it's rightfully ours, Eric said. It's not rightfully yours. It's mine. Mom left it to me. Not you, not Claire, not anyone else. Me. Because she was a bitter old woman, Claire said. Because she couldn't stand to see me happy. Because she knew what you were. I pulled out the folder, set it on the table. Claire's eyes went to it, then back to my face. What's that? She asked. Proof. I opened the folder, spread out the printouts, bank statements, emails, transaction records, all of it pointing to one conclusion. Claire Brennan had been embezzling from her employer. Where did you get this? Claire's voice was barely a whisper. Does it matter? This is illegal. You can't. I can, and I will, if you don't drop the divorce settlement. If you don't leave me alone. If you don't stop trying to take what's mine. Sabrina grabbed the papers, scanned them, her face going pale. Claire, tell me this isn't real. Claire said nothing. Oh my God, Sabrina stood. You idiot! You stupid, greedy idiot! Sabrina, do you know what this means? If this gets out, you'll go to jail. We'll all be implicated. I helped you set up that shell company, remember? I'm an accessory. The room went silent. You helped her? Eric stared at Sabrina. You knew about this? I thought it was harmless. I thought she was just… Sabrina stopped, looked at me. What do you want? I want you all to leave me alone. I want Claire to drop the divorce settlement, take nothing, and disappear. I want Eric to stay away from my family. And I want you, Sabrina, to stop stirring up trouble. And if we do that, you'll what? Destroy the evidence? I'll keep it safe. As insurance. You're blackmailing us, Cassie said. Dad, you're literally blackmailing Mom. I'm protecting myself. You're being a monster. I looked at my daughter, this stranger with my eyes and her mother's contempt, and felt something break inside me. Get out, I said. All of you, get out. They left. Claire first, then Sabrina, then Eric. Cassie lingered, staring at me like she didn't recognize me. I'm ashamed of you, she said. Join the club. She left. I sat alone in the private room, surrounded by evidence of betrayal, and wondered when exactly I'd stopped being the good guy. The next week was quiet. Too quiet. Claire dropped the settlement demands, agreed to a simple divorce with no asset division. Eric stopped calling. Sabrina deleted her social media accounts. Cassie blocked my number. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt hollow. Marty noticed. You okay? He asked one morning at the gym. Fine. You're not fine. You look like hell. I'm just tired. You're not sleeping. He was right. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. The look on Claire's face when I'd shown her the evidence. The way Cassie had said she was ashamed of me. The silence of the house, empty of everything except my own breathing. I did the right thing, I said. Did you? They were trying to rob me. I know, but, Tom, you've got to ask yourself. Was it worth it? I didn't have an answer. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday. I signed the papers in Ms. Lowell's office alone. Claire didn't show up. Her lawyer handled everything remotely. You're officially single, Ms. Lowell said. How do you feel? Free. It was a lie, but it was the right thing to say. I drove ABT home, parked in the garage, sat in the truck for 20 minutes. The house loomed before me, dark and empty. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a kitchen I never used, a living room full of furniture I didn't want. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mr. Brennan? This is Detective Sarah Chen with the Millbrook Falls Police Department. We need to talk to you about an incident at the Riverside Hotel. My stomach dropped. The security camera. The tires. What incident? Vandalism. We have you on video tampering with a vehicle belonging to Eric Brennan. Can you come down to the station? Am I under arrest? Not yet. We just want to talk. I went. Sat in a gray interview room that smelled like burnt coffee and desperation. Detective Chen was young, professional, with tired eyes that said she'd seen worse than me. Tell me about the night of October 15th, she said. I told her. The hotel, the tires, the note, all of it. That's vandalism, she said. Destruction of property. It's letting air out of tires. It's a crime. So is adultery. She almost smiled. That's not actually illegal in Massachusetts. Should be. Mr. Brennan. She leaned forward. Your brother isn't pressing charges. He just wanted us to talk to you, to warn you. He says you've been harassing him and your ex-wife. I have evidence that my ex-wife has been embezzling from her employer. I have evidence that she and my brother have been having an affair. I'm not harassing anyone. I'm defending myself. By letting air out of tires? By sending a message. She studied me for a long moment. You seem like a smart guy. Don't do anything stupid. Don't give them a reason to come after you harder. Understand? I understand. She let me go. I drove home, my hands shaking on the wheel. That night, I got drunk for the first time in 20 years. Sat in the kitchen with a bottle of whiskey, drinking until the room spun and my thoughts blurred. My phone buzzed. A text from Eric. This isn't over. I typed back, yes it is. But I was wrong. The Millbrook Falls annual gala was the social event of the year. A black tie affair at the country club where the town's elite gathered to see and be seen. I'd never gone before. Claire had always gone without me, said I wouldn't enjoy it, said I'd be uncomfortable. She was probably right. But this year, I bought a ticket, rented a tux, showed up at 7 o'clock with a flash drive in my pocket and a plan in my head. The ballroom was packed, 200 people in evening wear, champagne glasses in hand, string quartet playing in the corner. I spotted Claire immediately, stunning in a black dress, talking to Richard Dennison. She saw me, went pale, said something to Richard. He looked over, frowned. Sabrina was there too, with her husband Gerald, a soft-faced man who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Eric stood by the bar, watching me with narrowed eyes. I made my way to the stage, where the mayor was preparing to give his annual speech. He was a glad-handing politician named Frank Morrison, all teeth and hair and empty promises. Mayor Morrison, I said, can I have a word? Tom Brennan. He shook my hand, pumped it enthusiastically. Good to see you. How's the auto shop? Sold it. I'm retired now. Retired? At your age? Must be nice. It is. Listen, I was wondering if I could say a few words tonight. About my mother. She lived in Millbrook Falls her whole life, and I'd like to honor her memory. Oh. He looked uncertain. Well, the schedule is pretty tight. 5 minutes. That's all I need. I suppose that would be all right. Sure. After my speech. Thank you. I waited. Drank club soda. Watched Claire watch me. Watched Eric text someone, probably warning them. Finally, the mayor took the stage. Gave his speech. 15 minutes of platitudes about community and tradition and pulling together. The crowd applauded politely. And now, he said, Tom Brennan would like to say a few words about his late mother, Margaret. Tom? I climbed the stairs, took the microphone. 200 faces looked up at me, curious, polite. Thank you, Mayor Morrison, and thank you all for being here tonight. I paused, let the silence build. My mother was a housekeeper. She cleaned homes for families in this town for 40 years. She wasn't rich. She wasn't important. But she was honest. She worked hard. She saved her money. And when she died, she left me everything she had. Murmurs in the crowd. Claire's face was frozen. Now, some people think that money should be shared, that it belongs to everyone, not just me. My ex-wife, for example, my brother, even people who aren't family, who just think they deserve a piece because they were nice to me once. Tom. Claire's voice sharp from the crowd. Don't! But here's the thing about honesty. I pulled the flash drive from my pocket, held it up. It's rare, especially in a place like this, where everyone's so concerned with appearances, where everyone's so busy, pretending to be something they're not. I walked to the AV booth, handed the flash drive to the confused technician. Put this on the screen, please. Sir, I don't think... Do it. He did. The projector flickered to life, and suddenly the screen behind me was filled with emails, bank statements, transaction records, all of it showing in meticulous detail how Claire Brennan and Richard Dennison had embezzled over $200,000 from Dennison Corp. Over the past 3 years. The room erupted. Claire screamed something, pushed through the crowd toward the stage. Richard Dennison stood frozen, his face gray. Sabrina grabbed her husband's arm, trying to pull him toward the exit. "This is illegal!" Claire shouted. "This is slander!" "It's truth," I said into the microphone. "And there's more." The screen changed. Now it showed photos, Claire and Richard at hotels, Claire and Eric at restaurants, time-stamped and dated. A complete timeline of betrayal. "My wife cheated on me with my brother," I said. "She stole from her employer. She lied to everyone in this room. And she did it all while pretending to be a victim, while telling our daughter that I was the problem." Eric rushed the stage. I saw him coming, stepped aside, let him crash into the podium. The microphone screeched. People screamed. Security moved in, 2 large men in ill-fitting suits who grabbed Eric, pulled him back. He fought them, swearing, his face purple with rage. "You're dead!" he shouted. "You hear me, Tommy? You're dead!" "Get him out of here," the mayor said, his voice shaking. They dragged Eric away. Claire stood in the middle of the ballroom, surrounded by people who were no longer looking at her with respect. Sabrina had disappeared. Gerald stood alone, staring at his phone, probably calling his lawyer. I took the microphone again. "Small towns love a scandal," I said. "Good thing I brought enough for everyone." I walked off the stage, through the crowd that parted like water. Behind me, I heard Claire crying, heard the mayor trying to restore order, heard the string quartet start playing again, too loud, too fast. I walked out into the cold November night, the country club blazing with light behind me. My truck sat in the parking lot, reliable and waiting. My phone buzzed. A text from Cassie. "What did you do?" I typed back, "What I had to." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, I saw the photos. I saw the evidence. Oh my God. Dad, I'm so sorry. I sat in the truck, engine running, heat blasting, and felt something loosen in my chest, something that had been tight for months, maybe years. Another text. "Can I come home?" I typed, "Yes." The fallout was spectacular. Richard Dennison was fired, arrested, charged with embezzlement. Claire was arrested too, released on bail, her face on the front page of the Millbrook Gazette. Sabrina's husband filed for divorce, citing adultery and fraud. Eric left town, moved to Florida, stopped answering calls. The country club banned me for life, but I didn't care. I'd never wanted to be a member anyway. Cassie came home 3 days after the gala. She stood on the porch, suitcase in hand, looking smaller than I remembered. "Dad," she said, "I'm sorry. I should have believed you. You didn't know. I should have. I should have seen what Mom was doing, what Uncle Eric was doing. I was just so caught up in my own stuff I didn't pay attention." "Come inside," I said. "It's cold." We sat in the kitchen, drank coffee, talked for hours. She told me about college, about her TikTok drama, about the pressure to be perfect. I told her about the trust, about my plans to invest in the community, to start a scholarship fund in my mother's name. "For kids like me," I said. "Kids who don't have, money, but have potential. That's beautiful, Dad. It's what Mom would have wanted." We sat in comfortable silence. Outside, the first snow of winter began to fall, dusting the yard in white. "What happens now?" Cassie asked. "Now? Now we move forward. We build something better." "Do you think Mom will go to jail?" "Probably, for a while at least." "And Uncle Eric?" "He's gone. Good riddance." "And you?" I looked at my daughter, this young woman who'd called me a monster and then come home anyway, who'd seen the worst of me and stayed. I'm going to be okay, I said. We're going to be okay. And for the first time in months, I believed it. 6 months later, I stood in front of the new Millbrook Community Center, watching as the mayor cut the ribbon. It was a beautiful building, modern, bright, full of possibilities. The trust had funded it, along with scholarships for 20 local students. Cassie stood next to me, filming for her TikTok. She'd pivoted her content, started talking about family, redemption, second chances. Her followers loved it. She was up to 500,000 now. Say something, Dad, she said, turning the camera on me. Like what? Like why you did this? Why you gave so much money to the town? I looked at the camera, at the little red light that meant the world was watching. My mother spent her life serving this community, I said. She cleaned houses, raised a family, saved every penny. She taught me that real wealth isn't about what you have. It's about what you give. This center, these scholarships, they're her legacy. And mine. Cassie stopped recording, hugged me. That was perfect. Was it? Yeah, Dad, it was. We walked into the center, greeted by people I'd known my whole life. Some had judged me after the gala. Some had taken my side. Most had just watched, fascinated by the drama. Now they saw something different. Not a victim, not a villain, just a man who'd fought for what was his and then given it away. Marty found me by the coffee station. Hell of a thing you did here, he said. Had to do something with the money. Could have kept it. Could have lived like a king. Kings are lonely. He laughed. Fair point. You hear about Claire? No. What? Sentenced yesterday. 3 years, eligible for parole in 18 months. That's less than I expected. She cooperated, testified against Dennison. He got 7 years. Good. You okay with that? Her getting off light? I thought about it. About Claire in her red dress, about Eric at the bar, about all of the anger I'd carried for so long. Yeah, I said. I'm okay with it. She's not my problem anymore. And Eric? Haven't heard from him. Don't want to. He's in Tampa, working at a car dealership. Saw it on Facebook. Good for him. We stood there watching people explore the new center. Kids in the game room, adults in the computer lab, seniors in the reading area. All of it funded by my mother's careful savings, by her lifetime of work. You did good, Tom, Marty said. We'll see. But I knew he was right. I'd done something good, something that mattered, something that would last long after I was gone. That night, alone in the house that no longer felt empty, I sat at the kitchen table and wrote a letter to my mother. I told her about the center, about the scholarships, about Cassie coming home. I told her about Claire and Eric, about the revenge and the aftermath. I told her I was sorry it took me so long to understand what she'd been trying to teach me. That money meant nothing if you had no one to share it with. That revenge was hollow if it cost you your soul. That the best way to honor the dead was to build something for the living. I folded the letter, put it in an envelope, drove to the cemetery, stood by her grave in the dark, the November wind cutting through my coat. I miss you, Mom, I said. I wish you could see what we built. I wish you could see Cassie. I wish a lot of things. The wind answered, cold and indifferent. I left the letter on her headstone, weighted down with a rock. Drove home. Slept better than I had in months. The next morning, Cassie made breakfast. We ate together, talked about nothing important, laughed at stupid jokes. It was ordinary. It was perfect. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You won. Congratulations. C. Claire. Reaching out from wherever she was, whatever she'd become. I deleted it without responding. Some stories needed to end, and this story of betrayal and revenge, of anger and redemption, was finally, mercifully over. I was free. We were free. And that was enough.